Hi, it's Nancy, welcoming you to Garden Scroll. So I sprayed one clematis, or clematis, the one I was showing you, and guess what those little blister bugs did? They just went to my other one. So I'm going to have to spray this one now. They've already taken it down to just the veining once, so they're trying again. Oh, I hate those things. So I got some more of my little garden decor put in the garden. This is the pot that I gave to my sister Kathy, and so I got another little pot and just put me some more little starts in there, and hopefully they'll have plenty of time to root in good. And I'll probably put a little bit of plastic over it too, but leave enough where it can get air and rain, snow, whatever it gets in the winter. And hopefully this will be back next spring. And this little girl looks like she's belonged here all along. And this tiny little one worked perfectly in this tiny little pot that I probably need to redo what's in it, but doesn't she look good there? Look how this little one picked itself up. We got just 1/10 of an inch of rain early this morning, and it just picked itself up. That's that one that I said was either a redhead or a Peter's Wonder or Perella, and I'm still not sure. I think it might be a Peter's Wonder, but I can't tell for sure. And I think I might be going to just turn this little pot around and then turn this little girl around, and I'm going to see if that will work so that I can have my pretty trailing vinca on the front side where you can see it better. Even though I love this lantana too, but it's trying to cover her up, and I think I can still see it from the other side. I'm going to try that. So that was an easy fix. I just turned her around and everything just seems to fit pretty well there, and then this pretty trailing vinca is right in the front where you can see it lots better. So I spent the whole day in the garden, and I don't have anything else done in the house, but maybe tomorrow or Monday. But I clipped off these little zinnias because they're just beginning to fade, some of them, and some of them have faded a long time ago. But I went ahead and clipped these off because it'll help others to go ahead and bloom, fresh ones. Plus this will be great seeds for next year. I bought a new little plant. It's a house plant. You know what I do to those, but hopefully I won't kill it. Isn't it beautiful? All them pretty fall colors in there. It's a croton, I believe is what it's called. My husband put some holes in my little swans because of course they didn't have a drain hole, and I am redoing those now because they will actually let me put a flower in them, I'm thinking. And he put a hole in this one for me, so maybe I can get a flower to grow in it for our fall tour. We got some more rain, 1 3/10 of an inch. So this is a really good day for working in the garden. I'm going to dig up some things and move them to other spots and do some, I'll probably be working all day in the garden, and I thought this little area was looking good this morning because all the morning glories are shining. When I said this is the one I gave to my sister, what I meant was this is where the one I gave to my sister was. And these are the little clippings that I put back in there to start for a new pot. And this is my new little starts in this pot. So we'll see how well they will do this fall. And we'll just go right on up the way here, and I'll show you some of the other ones that my husband made a hole in it for me so it would drain, and I put little starts in those. And the sun just popped out bright and clear, so I'm hoping you'll still be able to tell. Sometimes the sun makes the lighting just too whited out. And I can tell this little coleus clipping I put in there, or this big coleus clipping, is actually laying down. So we'll see. It may still be too warm to start them, but hopefully not. Hopefully they'll still keep going. And this little one, I had some, I think rose moss or something in it, which did a little bit okay, but you know, everything's just got to drain, and I only had just rocks for it to drain into, and that worked through the really hot part of summer because it of course the water didn't stay in it very long, but once it started getting even just a little bit cooler, it just needed a complete drain hole in the bottom of it, and he fixed one in there for me, and I think these little ones will live. And I did clip a little bit more of this off, and I used that, you could probably tell, in my little new pots, or the old pots that are getting a new drain hole in them, that I clipped it off so that you can see the wording on the little fish there. And this is the other little pot, and I've actually never had plants in this pot before. I just never put a hole in it, and I didn't even try to put something in it because it's pretty shallow. It doesn't have probably 1.5 inches for it in there. But in the cooler weather, these will work, and I put that little miniature thundercloud sedum in there, and it will probably do well even next year. It'll probably put its root down and stay there and come back next year. If it doesn't, I'll probably put another one in there, and I think once it gets established, it will do well in there without any more dirt than what it has in there. And these little coleus clippings will do well once the weather gets cooler, like it's beginning to now. It's still got a ways to go, but that's okay. It's cool enough that the plants are enjoying it a lot more, and I don't really want it to go right on into winter. I want some wonderful, beautiful fall weather. So that rain just seemed to settle this little one in, and it's looking even better since I kind of turned her around and put this trailing periwinkle or vinca in the front of the pot, and it just looks good. So just that little bit took up a great portion of my day, and I have so much more I want to get done. One thing I would like to do is to move this grass and this penstemon. It's pretty there, but I don't want it all there. I may leave a portion of it there, but if I do, I'll definitely lift this little pot up a little higher because I want you to be able to see the angel that's in this little pot, and I want to be able to see her myself when I sit out here. And another thing I did was to clip off a piece of my crown of thorns plant for my sister, and this time it came out well. The root came right out with it, so that it's got a really good start, and she's gonna love it. But the little blue butterfly plant that I gave her, it didn't have a root. I still think it will build a root, but I'm not sure. I tried 2 here and they did not, but it was hot, quite a bit warmer than it is now anyway. But these I'm trying again, and we'll see. I don't know what will happen, but it's always worth a try. Yesterday was the first day of fall, and I was so busy. But it was wonderful to have a nice day to get some stuff done. And I didn't really make a dent in what I need to do, so I'm going to be busy out here all day long again. But this morning, I'm just sitting here. I just had donuts and coffee. And I'm just sitting here enjoying that day that I knew would come, but I just can't believe it's really here. I wish I had more time just to sit here. But at the same time, I want to get things done. The plants are renewing themselves all over the place. I noticed that some of my Trinity plant is coming back up and out, and it used to all look like this one little dry dead one here, or not all of it did, but a lot of it did, and it's beginning to get renewed energy, and it's going again. This is what I did yesterday. One of the things I did, I cleaned out the grass that was in front of this little pot. And you can see you can see the cactus and the things that are in the pot better. You can see the little angel in the pot better. And so I'm enjoying it. I threw away some of the grass. I did not know it actually had so much there. There was a lot more than it even looked like. But I did save some of it. I'm going to put in some pots. And if you can tell, actually, there's a little sprig of it right here that I left in this pot, which may end up taking over the whole pot again, and I'll have to redo it. But I just had to try it there. And I tried it in this little pot right here. You can see it splaying out from behind this turquoise little decor in that little decor house. Behind it there is some of the grass. And I thought I learned my lesson to never come out and sit without the camera, because you're sure to see something you wish you would have got. But don't you just hate it when you learn a lesson and then you forget and you wish you had not have? But I did see a big old blue jay this morning. He was yelling and trying to, I guess, get everybody else away. Here he comes, so let me have it now, it's all mine. But I think he's going for the pears, in the leftover pears in the tree. But he was right over here, and I could have got such a good shot of him, I think, but I didn't. So unless he comes back around, I'm going to miss that shot again today. I also dug up and divided 15 or 20 daylilies and transplanted those in other places. So that's a hard job that I got done. So I was a dirty, tired little mess last night when I went to sleep. but it sure feels good to get that done. So this right in front of it is where I dug out the grass, and I want to put a path where you see these right here. I tried once, but I'm going to have to get that going again at some point and get it perfected. But I'm sitting on my little swing, and underneath it there's nothing, and what grows underneath here is weeds most usually. So I'm going to plant some, I think, lamium there today. Hopefully that's the plan. And then over here, I think this will probably be too much sun for lamium, so I'm going to actually end up putting probably creeping Jenny over here on this part up against my little pathway, but I still do want to get my path going at some point. I don't know if you can tell, I'm sure you can't actually, but I started this out and it's actually had pictures in it, but see, they've cracked and faded. So I'm gonna see if I can't perfect that, and I had scriptures in each one. So this is going to someday, if I can get it going the way I would like to, it's going to be a memory lane for me and my family, where we can walk down memory lane when we come out and look in the garden. I have one area that I hope to have for graduation and GED pictures. And the little clippings that I put in yesterday are still looking good. We had just a little bit of a shower this morning, not enough to put anything in the rain gauge, but enough to make the plants feel good. So I was just noticing how much these little petunias love that rain. They look so bright and pretty. And it looks like a couple more little rosebuds came out to join this one today. So these didn't even really wilt down that much at all. I hope they keep going. It's supposed to be a little warmer the rest of the week, I think. We're supposed to be in the high 80s and low 90s. So hopefully they'll just keep right on going. That's still maybe not too hot for a plant to enjoy. These little dianthus are getting renewed energy and coming back and blooming again also. And I'm thinking that I may go ahead and trim the mums in this place and in one other place where they're just too much overhang for me to get by my path good. So I'll probably take them off, even though I love the overhang, especially when it's blooming, but it's just not in a good spot for overhang. I'm not sure yet. I may leave it, but I probably will clip it back. I told you I had some twice blooming iris, and this is one of them. Another sign that fall is here is this when they start renewing and when the fall blooming ones start blooming, and just everything just has renewed energy, and I promise you that it's giving me some renewed energy too, even though I'd like to extend this just enjoying the morning. But I don't really want to do that either, because I want it done. I want to go ahead and get done so much. There's so much I've got to do. Our water puts a little layer of rock, gyprock, on our windows. That's got to come off, because I'm going to want to see the sunlight in the winter, and my plants are going to want it as much or more than I do. They're going to need that sunlight to come streaming through those windows to be able to live. And I do have plant lights, because I can't put everything in this one little window, or this little double window. In front of it is the best and only really place I have for inside plants. So I'm going to need some areas with some plant lights and some prayer that they'll keep going for me, and I'll have them back out here next year. And I need to trim back my ironweed. It was so pretty when it was all pretty purple. I guess you can hopefully see some of that purple in there still, but most of it's all brown, and I do want to go ahead and get this off of it at some point. I don't really know if I'll get around to that today, because there's just so much other stuff I need to do too. And I was hoping I had these Mexican petunias all chopped down, and I see lots of them actually coming up right now, and this one has a bloom, so it'll put on some more seed. They're very pretty, but they're also very invasive, and I'm trying to eliminate some of the more invasive. There's one right there, but I'm trying to eliminate some of the more invasive plants, just so it'll be a little easier to care for the garden. And I've got to redo these pots and put some more soil in them and get the little bulbs down a little deeper in some of them, actually raise them up to in some of the others and put more soil in. And then I'm thinking that this little pot right here may be where I'll put some of that grass, and maybe put some of that it's kind of a blue-green, I think it's called Santolina or something similar to that, but it's a little blue-green plant, and to me it's very pretty, and it's also water-wise, it doesn't take a lot of water. So I'm thinking I may put it in this and see how it will do next year, and hopefully I can still go ahead and put some zinnias in there with it. I love a zinnia, and I did get some zinnias off of this. They were a bunch of, or several little yellow ones here that I took off for seed, in one of these kind of a multicolored yellow and orange, and then some of the pinks too I got, and put them in envelopes for seed. Look how much fuller this little sedum has gotten. Some of my dahlias are looking better since I sprayed for grasshoppers and since I actually put them up on this little stake right here. I actually probably needed a little taller stakes for those. Look at this one. Isn't that pretty? I don't know if I can get over here to get this one, but I'll try for you. It's kind of turned the wrong way to get a good picture of this one. Oh, and look at this one's fixing to bloom. It hasn't done so yet, but look at that color. So I want to say welcome fall. Welcome, welcome, welcome fall. The only thing I don't like about you is you usher in winter. And that used to be a real turnoff for me. But now, after that initial frost when it takes the flowers away, I'm so ready for fall, for winter, and ready for a rest. Put up Christmas trees and stay in and enjoy the warmth of the house while it's cold outside. But let's don't rush that. Oh, I hope we have a long and beautiful fall. I hope we get to come out here many, many times and enjoy a scroll in the garden. We'll go for garden scrolls as many times as we can, knowing that it'll all be gone before too long. So I have two of my neighbor's dogs, one on either side, telling you hello today. And as much as I need to get busy, I'll just keep hanging it on out here. But I do have to. I've got to get busy. I've got laundry to do today, and I want to do so much more in the garden. So this little job that I did is actually just a something to teach me not to do it as soon, because I clipped all these back and now they've all got to be clipped back again, which I knew that might happen. And then I put down the rock, and I thought maybe it would keep the weeds from coming up. But as you can see, even though these are little celotias, not weeds necessarily, and there's a purslane weed right there, I definitely want up before it makes seeds. I love the purslane moss, but the weed is just horrendous. And there's a lot of weeds in there. So I'm going to clean it out again and put down some, well, I guess what I'm going to use is eliminator that's similar to Preen, that keeps the new seeds from sprouting. I'm going to try that. I've never actually tried that before, but it sounds wonderful. So I'm hoping that it'll keep these little weed seeds from coming up out here. But it does look way neater, and the weeds are small. If I can get them up there before they get big. And here is where I'm going to get my little lamium clippings. I'll get these and put them in a rooting powder and root those, and then they won't be hanging out over my sidewalk. But here's a good amount for me to get, and then I'll still have them growing along the edge of my little front flower bed. And I think I need to, well, I know I need to spray the lawn one more time for weeds that are coming up in it too. I want to get those while they're growing, because they're already slowing their growth, and it won't be long that they'll be going dormant. So I'm going to try to just enjoy fall as much as I possibly can while it's here, because it's such a short time. Just like retirement is such a short time in our lives. And then I know some people are saying, lucky you if you get retirement. So, and that's true too. That's absolutely true. So here's the other area where I need to trim back some mums. I'm trying to think of chrysanthemums. Here's where I'm going to trim back some chrysanthemums, and actually there's a pot right here. You can't even see the pot for them. And even though I really do like the chrysanthemum, there's way too much of it here. I need to trim some of that back. And I was looking at this little pot, and my one and only little, I had a little tiny purple splash pepper coming up there, and it's gone, so it didn't make it. I've got to learn to get those too, because they're so pretty. Where I filled up this little pot is looking bright and chipper. Actually, I'm going to take off this little one right here with a hole in it. And there's another one under it that did die. But the rest of it looks good. And this little coleus didn't keep on wilting like I thought it would. It's kind of looking good. I guess that little bit of rain helped it out too. This is the pretty chocolate plant, all the pretty tufts, pretty white tufts of the chocolate plant. I love them. And these little clippings, they don't have a root yet, you know. We just put them in there, or I just put them in there yesterday, and they're looking good. I took off a piece of this beautiful little purple salvia yesterday. I thought I would find a spot and try to root it, but for some reason I lost my little piece I took off. I never did find it. I looked and looked for it and finally just gave up. I think I probably put it in a handful of garden debris and just mixed it in with it and threw it away. I hate that. But I can still get another one and try again, but that one was such a big, good, it looked like it would have been a real good for starting a root from. And this little yellow flower is called verbascum, and it's starting to come up volunteer from seed, which I know it could be a problem. This may be called Santolina, and I may be saying that wrong, and this may be a whole different plant, but this little plant has been here for a good long while, and it doesn't take a lot of water to keep it going. It's just the tiniest little dots of green make up a whole cluster of blue-green color, and I just love it. I'm going to try and get that Santolina growing around one of those, that grass that I showed you I trimmed out or took out, and I'm going to put that in a pot together, and I think that will be pretty. This is my red mandevilla, looking good. It's another thing that's beginning to go now that fall is here. Fall is here. I still can't believe it's really here. This is called bat flower, and I was hoping, it usually does put me down some each year. I'll just volunteer, so I'm hoping it will keep doing that because I do like having some of it in the garden. This is more of the chocolate plant, the dark colored foliage that's pretty all season, and then this beautiful little tiny tufts of white just cover it in the fall. Look at these beautiful little double impatiens. Aren't they gorgeous? They're just now really doing good too. They struggled through the summer's heat, but they lived. Impatiens are tough, and they don't seem like they would be. My main problem with impatiens is simply slugs or snails or roly-polies. Now, because of that little juicy, watery stem, they just go for that. Lots of times they take them right off down at the root, and you never get to see them. And these are toad lilies that are beginning to bloom. You can see where all the foliage got scorched, of course. And that's Autumn Joy Sedum there in the background. And I just noticed that my painter's palette has these pretty little red stem, I don't know if they're seed heads. I guess they are. I hope it doesn't get to be a problem. I think it could too, but I kind of don't think it will here in this particular spot. Of course, I could be wrong too. I was wrong about this area here where I had those Trinity plant or widow's tears. And there's another name that I know, and maybe more that it's called, but it's a pretty plant, but I had to put them in pots because it was taking over. I had to spend so much time on it. There's my little hydrangea that I'm trying to get started good, and I'm going to have some more of those pretty large marigolds there. That if I didn't have to spend so much time getting rid of invasive plants like I did last year and several years previous too, and these are always a problem too. Can you believe something so pretty could be a problem? But it certainly is, because there's tiny little black seeds inside here. I probably can't even see them. I don't know if you can see them there or not, and they haven't really filled out or turned dark enough yet probably for you to see them. They might in this one since it's turning brown there, but anyway, they're full of seeds, and they just drop, and then they're all trying to come up all over the place. But I just have to let some of them go to seed because they're just so pretty, and they just say fall. Even in the summertime, you know that it's a sign that fall is coming when these begin to put their little fluffy heads up. And this little pot is already beginning to fill out. I was hoping it would live, but it's doing more than just being alive, it's filling out so much. I'll probably have to trim it back again to keep it out of her face. And it looks like these little ones, these little periwinkles. This is the mother plant, and I clipped these off of it, and they do totally, let me take that out of the way, but they totally look like they're going to make it look like they've already put a root down in there. Isn't that wonderful? Which means these over here probably are doing the same. And I may want to give my sister Rosie, now I feel like I better call her Rose, because she may not want everybody calling her Rosie, but she lets me get away with it so much so that that's really, the other name, just Rose, sounds like I'm talking about somebody else. But I need to give this to Rosie because she's got lots of ivy, but I didn't see any Swedish ivy, and she can keep it alive for me, and I'll bring it in, and heaven only knows if it'll be able to come back out. I'm so terrible with house plants. Somebody once told me you can always, anybody can keep a Swedish ivy alive, but I can't yet. I can't say that. I cannot keep saying that. I've got to say, but I've got to learn how to, because you're snared by the words of your mouth, and I don't want that to be true. I want to be able to grow this stuff and keep it through the winter and put it back out in my garden because it's so pretty. Oh, look, here's another little fall greeter. This had started to bloom earlier, but now look at it. It's just shiny. Probably a lot of it because of that little bit of rain. They just perked up when that happened this morning. And the last time I tried a little coleus clipping here, it's living and looking good. So I tried several there, and actually one of the ones I tried earlier is trying to come back from its little root. It made a root and all the leaves died off of it, but you see it's put up another one, and that one will keep going as long as it can until frost takes it out, I believe, because once they get a good little start, they're okay with that heat. This one I put in earlier in the season, and for some reason it did make it, so it's got its root and going strong. This, of course, is a clematis or clematis, and I think it might be called gypsy. It's one of the dark ones, of course. And then this is called flamingo feather celosia, and it starts out just the sweet color, and then it begins to put on a pretty little pink mauve head at the top of it. And sometimes that'll keep going right on down, and it'll be even more colorful than this. So here's a good example of why I put this black and blue salvia right here beside this golden carrier globe bush. They're both pretty on their own, but they really play off of each other, those colors, blue and yellow do. I noticed this little peach tree has got a few of the fall colors on it. This little pot of calabachoa tried so hard, but it just couldn't get there in all that heat. It just couldn't do it. I need to clip out some of the dead part of this and put some coleus in there and give it some color and let it shine too. Actually, in all of these, the bottom part of this one is full and looking pretty good, but all the rest of them need a little help. Some taking stuff out and putting other stuff back in would help it a lot, I think. Oh, and I also had sedum grow, or not sedum, no, penstemon growing up in with that grass. And so I transplanted some of it here, and this has a little pinkish red bloom on it in the springtime, and the hummingbirds just love it. I think it must be one of their very favorite. When you get this little dichondra or dichandra, whichever it's called, when you get it started in the spring, you never think, well, you know if you've seen it that it does this, but it's just amazing that it could ever, a tiny little plant like that, grow into this in a summer's time. That it does, and I love it so. I wish it were a perennial and not an annual. But I did have seeds, a few seeds come up. Actually, I purchased most of the ones, but I do have some that I got from seed. And I hear the hens are, I'm sure you've heard them, cackling. My mother used to say they're just telling you that they laid an egg. Whether that's true or just something she decided to say to me, I don't know. But I always remember that anyway when I hear them. Look at this little monster. This is called wasabi coleus. And it has just kept on going and going, and I've clipped it back at least 2 other times, and I need to clip it back again. But I'm also hoping to get some of the big tall ones to put in a glass and save it for next year. I'm trying to get that big old bumblebee. But I love this stuff, and usually I've learned the taller ones I get, the better chance they seem to have. My little short ones, the stem, if it starts doing the stem rot thing, lots of times you can clip it off at the stem and just keep going up the stem clipping until spring. And if you've got some pretty green, just dip that in rooting powder and put it in the ground, and most usually it will grow. I do have some trouble with getting them acclimatized because I'm not good at that either, only because I don't take the time to bring them in and out, in and out, in and out. I kind of take them out and hope that I picked a good time that they'll be able to survive. And I love this little pot, how much it's flourished too this year. I think I may need to put some pretty green in there too. I did that last year, and it seems to bring out the other color even more when it has a different green in there with it. So this is some of the grass that I clipped out of the back, and I put some of that Centellina. It also has little tiny balls, yellow balls on it in the summertime, or in the early summer. and it may even be still in the spring, but I think it's a little later than early spring when they start to bloom. But even without the bloom, aren't those two colors pretty together? I know this needs to be like thinned out and looking better, but just that pretty blue color with this green, it's kind of got a blue cast to it, but I think that looks good together, and I'm going to try that and see. I think it'll actually come back next year, so we'll see. So here's another job I did not get done, but one day I think this is going to be a before, and we're going to have an after when it's just going to look empty, but it's going to be full of the seeds from the plants that need to be planted in the fall because they'll need a cold period. So I've tried a few before and just really didn't have much luck with them, and so I ended up just putting the petunia seeds here, which I've totally enjoyed. That I think I'm sure I'm going to try that if I just get around to it anyway. So I'm using all the cooler part of the day taking pictures or movie clips instead of doing my job, and I've got a lot of hard work to get to, so I must go ahead and do that. Oh gosh, I hate to leave. I hope you hate to leave. And if you do like the garden and the scrolls in the garden, going on garden scrolls with me, please click like and subscribe to the channel.